Hello, everyone. Just waiting for a couple more people to show up. I know we have a few that were interested in showing up this evening, so welcome. How's everyone doing today? Are we excited to learn marketing?
I'm excited. I'm good.
So am I. I am super excited. I even went and bought like a brand new notebook for this.
Did you? Okay.
Oh,
No
look at you all fancy.
I know, fancy. Literally, guys, so I'm in the middle of moving right now. Literally, all my stuff got put on a truck today. Like, my office is empty. I literally
Look at them floors.
map on the wall. That's it. Like, this is what we're working with.
Hey, you know what? That's okay.
Yes. So it's definitely been a crazy week here.
I can imagine. And I want to say before we get started, thank you so much for coming to talk to us tonight.
No,
I am just super stoked.
I mean, I hope that my information is helpful.
I'm sure it will be. I'm sure it will be. Because I'm always interested in learning new ways of marketing, new ways of doing things. So yeah, I am all ears. Now we probably are going to have some people that are going to be popping in as we go forward. So I will just let them in. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn it over to Krista, and she can share her font of knowledge with all of us as we bow to her experience and knowledge here. So Krista, I'm going to give it to you. If anyone has questions or anything along those lines, either pop them into the chat or just hang on to them until the end of the presentation so that we're not interrupting Krista too much, because I do know that she is moving, and so we want to make sure that we're not not driving her too crazy. Okay.
Oh no, not at all. Not at all.
So there we go. It's all yours, Krista.
So my name is Krista. I write under the pen name KM Reeves, and I've been doing this I've been writing for probably about 2 years now ish. But I have a degree in advertising and marketing prior to starting writing, and all of that. I'm sorry if it's a little loud. We're like I said, in the process of moving. I'm like locked away in the back side of my office. Like, well, my husband's trying to clean everything and get everything ready because we're renting the house after we move out. So I kind of wanted to start just by saying that, like, marketing, I feel like it's something that I'm learning with marketing for books is that marketing is not one size fits all. It never will be. What works for one person may not work for another person, which may be completely different for another person. And I think something to keep in mind is to really play to your own strengths. So to sit down and kind of say, what are my strengths? Do I like talking with people? Am I a creator? Like, you know, if you're a creator and like doing videos, TikTok might be for you. If you really enjoy connecting with people, doing groups and being involved in groups, maybe for you. I have a friend who solely does ads. Ads are her thing. She is an ad queen. And that's just her thing. You know what I mean? Like, she does not like talking to people. She does not like, she is a hermit. She does not want to do those things. But she's phenomenal when it comes to advertising and ads. So it's really just catering to your own strengths. So I can share my wealth of knowledge of what I know, and it may not be what works for you, but it may lead you to something that does work for you. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. Another thing with marketing is that there are so many facets of marketing. There is marketing yourself. There is marketing your brand. There is marketing your books. There is marketing a series, and each of them you approach differently. So that's also something to keep in mind. So I don't have like, Melissa, you're so funny. Take me down the yellow brick road. So I think kind of what I can do is I can walk you through kind of my process that I do and what I think, what has worked for me. And like I said, it will be different for everyone. When it comes to, like, for example, like Facebook groups, great. You know what I mean? They are not my cup of tea. I am terrible at social media. I try to keep up with my Facebook group. I'm terrible at it. Something that I'm really good at on the flip side is maybe not having my own Facebook group, but I am really good at interacting in other groups and interacting in groups where I know readers are. And that is something that I have learned has become very beneficial for me with this last release, which I released my second book in a series in October. And it's done decent. It's done pretty well. And so, like, I've really enjoyed kind of interacting in groups. And I think that has brought me a lot of readers in an organic way that I didn't expect. You know, this wasn't something that I set out to do. That's like, this is what I'm going to do. But now I'm kind of like, well, why didn't I do that? That was, you know, why didn't I go forth and kind of like get involved in those groups? And I learned that really, like, it has been very beneficial for me. So that's something that I'll touch on a little bit more. And that's kind of like prior to release. So I felt like prior to release, I started looking at groups where I felt my readers were. So I write in paranormal and fantasy romance. I write adult romance. So it's very much, where are these people for me? There are a lot of groups for contemporary romance, but I struggled to find a good group that I fit in for paranormal. So it was finding that group. And I think it's really hard to do. It is hard to do. It takes time. It's finding what works for your genre. Are there groups that cater to your genre? But I do think that has helped me a lot this last release. And I was able to, I did find a group. And for me, that group was the Cliterature group, which is an 18+ reading group filled with women and men who, not really men, I really think it's only women, who enjoy reading smut. And that is where I needed to be, because there was a big well of people reading PNR and fantasy. They're also reading contemporary. So that's, for any of you contemporary writers, that's a good place to be as well. But like, that was my well. And so starting to get to know them and get involved in those groups, I cannot tell you how many readers that I've had reach out to me and be like, you're just like me. Like, you like to read, you like to do these things. And so that became a really big part of marketing myself and marketing my brand of, this is who I am. And that is also a big part of it. Your readers want to know that they want to be able to interact with you. They want to be a part of the process. And so that was a big part, like a learning process for me, because that I was not prepared for at all. So I think that has become a big part of my process. Another big marketing thing for me, that's kind of prior, like, you know, before doing a release, is getting involved in those types of groups and things like that. As I said, some people really thrive with their Facebook groups. For me, that's just, I'm really bad at it, guys. I'm really bad at social media. So it's not my thing. Facebook is not my thing. Instagram, on the other hand, I love. Let me tell you, Instagram has become my bread and butter. Like, I love Instagram for marketing, for everything. My ARC team was found basically exclusively on Instagram, and I have between 100 and 150 members on my ARC team. And taking the time to really get invested in these bookstagrammers and communicating with them. And some of them were cold calls, like, not ashamed to say, like, some of them were reaching out and saying, like, hey, I have this book. Would you like to review it? Like, would you like a copy for an honest review? And so many people were so receptive. So finding those, one of the big things that I use on Instagram is following hashtags. And I did not know this was a thing, but it is. You can follow a specific hashtag. So I went in and started following, sorry, got a phone call and it went through. I started following hashtags. So following paranormal romance, romantasy, PNR, anything like that, following hashtag other authors that are in my genre. So like for me, big ones right now are Caroline Peckham and Suzanne Valenti, KF Breen, Amelia Hutchins. So following their hashtags specifically allowed me to see who's posting about them, because these are my readers. Those are the people who I need to be finding and following, but it also let me find bookstagrammers who are reading these books and who are reviewing these books. So I had no shame, reached out to them and said, hey, hope you're having a great day. I have this book. Would you like to review it? And I went for bookstagrammers with accounts of all sizes, people from 500 followers to 20,000 followers. Now, I got very few that were 20,000 just because there are reviews and like they're a part of teams and their schedules are booked so far out. You know what I mean? So I typically do mine about a month and a half before the book comes out. I'll start like looking and then kind of go from there. But I did so many. I sent so many cold calls, both for my first book and my second book. But let me tell you, those bookstagrammers, like, number one, there were so many that were grateful, that were just getting started, that were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you took a chance on me. Whereas I'm sitting here like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you took a chance on me. Like, this goes both ways. The feeling is mutual, which really gave them, again, that personal like connection, and which I think is just something that everybody kind of like wants. And like, it's really cool when you get that with an author that you love, and so many of them came to love my stuff. And so like, they were so excited. And let me tell you, they shout far and wide. Anytime I post something on Instagram about my books, about whatever, it's being shared, it's being added to their stories for their viewers to see, for their followers to see. So that's been a big thing for me, like, that has worked really well. Like I said, this may, like, what works for me, like I said, it may not be for you, and that's okay. But this is just my journey and kind of like what I've done. For some people, I have a really good friend who TikTok was her jam. TikTok, she first book coming out has been making TikToks about her book for months, and coming out right out the gate, brand new reverse harem, contemporary. She was 430 in store. Like, I've never even gotten my ranks down to 430 in store on Amazon, which blew my mind. And then I asked her, I'm like, what have you been doing? She's like, TikTok, that's it. And so like, it just goes to show that, like, if that's your jam, for me, I can't make TikToks to save my life. It's just not my thing. But like, I try, but like, you know what? I just don't feel like I hit the market like she does, but she hits the market so well. So it's worth trying. I've tried my hand at TikToks and I'm just like, you know what? This is a lot of work. And I just have not found something that sticks, but I'm going to keep trying, because that's where, a lot of people are, even though like I said, Instagram's my bread and butter. I saw somebody ask about physical copies. I typically send out ebooks. I do have the option. Like, I did have a few people say, like, I only do hard copies. And so then it kind of if they say they really need, like Melissa said, if they say they really need a physical copy, I would like maybe work with them and kind of say like, okay, like, you know, for example, I don't do my physical copies, like I won't get them before, because sometimes I'll do like a soft release and I'll get them, but I won't get my author copies for 4 to 6 weeks. You know, it just depends. Sometimes too, if I want to pay the extra shipping. So, and that'll typically be after release. So sometimes like I'll tell them, I'll be like, hey, like I can do that for you, you know, especially if they have a really good following or they seem to be very interactive on Instagram. I'll work with them and say, hey, I can do it, but like I won't be able to send it until, you know, I get my author copies in. If you don't mind waiting and like still doing the review, and typically it's because they want to take pictures and they want to do something beautiful. And let me tell you, I have gotten the most beautiful flat lays and artwork of like my book from Instagram. And like most of them are so willing to let you use it. Like if they create something, they're so honored to be able to use it, like that you're using it in whatever you decide to use it in, whether it be using it for an ad or using it as a cover photo or whatever it may be. They are so excited if you like involve them in that, which is really cool. The other thing that's super cool is that people on Instagram, I don't know what it is, they are so creative. Like, you know, they are just fantastic and they just love to do like different art and flat lays and edits like with photos that like represent your book, and it is the coolest thing. Like looking at it, like it blows my mind. Like I am such a sap for that kind of stuff and I love it. So like I said, that's been a real moneymaker for me, kind of. Okay, what a flat lay is. A flat lay is a basically it's kind of like when you see like the pretty pictures with a book, like either a book cover or there's an e-reader and it's got the cover on it. I wish I had, I don't. I have one. I will find one and I'll put it in the chat. Or Melissa, I know you have one. So if you want to find one and put it in the chat as an example, I know for a fact you have one. So it could be a picture with the book on it. I have some beautiful ones that people made, especially because my book came out right around Halloween. So they made some, and it's about vampires and witches. So they made beautiful ones with cauldrons and skulls. And I was like, I don't know how you did this. And they put like it all out, and then they put my book right in the center. They put the e-reader with the cover on it right in the center of it all. And they're just beautiful, like these beautiful works of art that I'm like, I can't, like tearing up, just mush. I love it. So like I said, like, and I love Instagram because it's a really great way to just interact. And there's a lot of people like Bookstagrammers, and then you get readers who just start following you. And especially if you kind of stay up to date, you can use stories to share about your life, I love my favorite authors that I follow do a lot of their like book promotions and stuff on their like pages, like on the posts for Instagram, but then use their stories to share about their life, share about what they're doing. Like I've posted like pictures of my dog because right now he is so displaced in our house. All right, I see you, Melissa. I will try and find one and see if I can hold it up. But like my dog is so displaced. So like sharing that, and then like I'll get like readers like messaging me saying like, oh my gosh, like I just got done with a really big move. Like good luck. Like I hope that it goes well. And they just like to feel a part of what you're doing. And like, I can't like stress that enough that like, I am learning that is just such a cool part of authorship that people really just want to be a part of like what you're doing. So that's a big part of it, and kind of just keeping up to date. And like I said, I found that it's not just about your books. It's not just about that. It's also selling you and who you are as a person. And I think that's a big part of it. Melissa's putting one on the screen right there. So
Yeah.
like that's a flat lay where it's got the book and like it's got all the Christmas stuff. This was for our Christmas book last year, our Christmas anthology. So it's got all of like just like a bunch of stuff. And like we made this one. This was one that me and a friend did. We literally just put all of like our stuff, like from our various coffee bars stuff, and we got hot chocolate and mugs and just whatever Christmas junk we could find around the house, and we laid it out on the floor and then put the book in the middle of it, or put the e-reader in the middle of it with the cover, and like took a picture. There's also a website called Image Apothecary. They also sell flat lays, and they have sales all the time on Image Apothecary. So definitely a cool website you can check out to see more flat lays and options. So that's pretty cool too. So that's like a big part of me leading up into release, and then through release, do a lot on Instagram. For release. So for me, this last time was a little different because it was a second book. So I approached a second book different than a first book. Because they're different when you have something like, and because my books are interconnected. So you have to read book one in order to read book two. Like that's just how it is. And so if you have interconnected standalones, it's a little different. You can almost approach each one as, you know, kind of its own thing. But if there's an overall story arc, you're definitely going to want to kind of approach it as if it's like as a series. So for my first book, which I released in March, I did some, but I didn't do as much marketing wise, because it's one of those things that like, I find that like, I know a lot of people will say, don't put a lot of money into your first book because you don't have like anything to fall back on. You know, you don't have a backlist for them to keep going to. So why are you going to spend all this money up front?
Here's my Image Apothecary one.
Yes. So they have ones with man chest. They have everything that you can imagine they have on Image Apothecary. It's great. They have lots of PNR ones and fantasy ones, as well as contemporary and cozy and lots of cool stuff. I go back and forth on how I feel about this whole like thought process of don't spend money on your first book. I sort of disagree. I think that you should spend some money because you want to get your book out there. You know what I mean? You want to gain that traction and that following. But that was just my approach. That's the marketer in me is like, no, like, why wouldn't I put my book out there? Why wouldn't I try and get as many eyeballs on it as I could? There is a ton that you can do that does not cost money. So for the first book, I did a lot of, prior to the book coming out, once arcs were done, and then right as it released, I did a ton of newsletter swaps with my first 4 chapters, like with test chapters. Hold on, let me see what you said, Patricia. With my first book, did I feel like I got the return on investment? I would say I probably, when all was said and done, I probably broke even, maybe made a little bit. Would I have loved to see more? Yes, absolutely. But walking away from it on the back end, I learned a lot, but also I feel like I started to gain a readership. And to me, that was more important. To me, with that first book, it was not about going into it. This was my goal. My goal was not making money. I am playing the long game as an author. And I always joke about this. I'm playing the long game in the sense that I know I will make more when I have more books, but I need to put the time in up front, making sure the books are good, you know, making sure that I take my time, that the books are worthy of having a readership, that people are going to follow me, that I am establishing who I am as an author and what my books are. So when you pick up my books, you know what you're getting. So that's my long game. And so with that, like, I did spend money, and it was definitely for me, it was, like I said, gaining readership. And that was more important to me, because when book 2 came out, yes, I had all these new ARC readers who were helping me, helping me promote and that sort of thing. But more importantly, what I had those readers that were still with me from book 1. They were still with me. They were ready. They wanted it. I mean, I ended the book on a cliffhanger. And so they really wanted to know what was going to happen, but they were with me. They wanted it. It was a good enough book that they were like, okay, yeah, let's go, you know? So doing that and then adding in the ARC readers on the next book really helped. So with book one, I did some newsletter swaps and joined some newsletters where I could promote like the first 4 chapters and give the first 4 chapters for free, which was my 10% or whatever it is that Amazon allows you to do. So I did that. That helped build my newsletter, which I will tell you right now, newsletters are not my jam. And you know what it is? I know they need to be. They do. Like newsletters really should be a part. They are your bread and butter. They should be a part of your marketing plan. This is one of those do as I say, not as I do things, because I am terrible with newsletters. And a lot of it comes from the fact that I just need to get over myself and do it, because I don't open newsletters. I only check my author email, and that's because I have to, because I get important emails for like business purposes. But like my personal email, you guys would like the number of the little red bubble on my phone that tells me how many emails are sitting in those like mailboxes. Like it's atrocious. You don't want to see it. It would give like you anxiety. So that's why I struggle with newsletters, because I struggle with checking my own email. So, but it is important. I do think that everybody should do it. I have seen people make their entire release on newsletters. I have a friend who she did rapid release, which is a whole other ball of wax. There are pros and cons to rapid release, but for her, it worked. But she did newsletters. She didn't run any ads, didn't do anything. And she is killing it on her rapid release, like just through using newsletters and swaps and stuff like that. So definitely newsletters are worth learning. I know Patricia knows a lot more about newsletters than I do. So definitely pick her brain, because she's got you. But what I did do, so I'm not very great with like my own newsletters and my own newsletter swaps, but what I did do was paid newsletters. And I know that people have, again, mixed feelings on this. I love them. I do. I really do love them. I feel like really helped boost my numbers. Both for the first book, like it helped to get people to take a chance on my book. Because when I released it 99 cents. And then I moved it up. So it allowed me to participate in a lot more paid newsletters, because I was running a 99-cent special when I first released. And I did the same for book 2. Book 2, I did not drop down to 99 cents, but book 1, I did the week of release. So I did a Kindle countdown, dropped down to 99 cents for book 2. And I think the numbers, like they didn't lie. You know what I mean? It was one of those things that I did that. And then on top of that, I did my stacked newsletters. So the first week of release for both releases, I did paid newsletters such as Bargain Booksy, Red Feather Romance, Book Barbarian, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Free Booksy is another one. There are a ton. I can definitely get together a comprehensive list so that Patricia can post it. But there are a ton of really good ones. My favorite are Bargain Booksy and Red Feather Romance. Also, now usually I do not recommend Fiverr at all. I don't. I am not a big fan, but there is one guy, his username is BK Nights, and that's just how I always refer to him, it's the BK Nights newsletter. It's dirt cheap, and I feel like on those days, I always have a good return on investment. And I would recommend using your paid newsletters anytime you're doing a Kindle countdown, anytime you run a free promo on your book. You want to put it out everywhere. You know what I mean? Especially if you have books to read through. So if you're doing it on your first book, like I'm planning after the first of the year to do either a free week or do the 99-cent Kindle countdown. And because I'm pretty sure Kindle countdown you can do once per quarter is the rule. And so, or it's once, I think it's once per quarter. And so with that, in doing that, you can, then you run your ads then. So you do your stack newsletters. when you're doing that, because you want to push as many people, especially if you have you do it on your first book, then you see the read through on everything else. Now, I didn't think read through was a thing, but it really is. And I noticed it with this last release, and it was just a big thing, you know. Pre-orders. Okay. Let me tell you, I was not smart. I did the wrong thing. I put up book 1, and
That's 100% correct. I just need to put that out there.
Yes. No, Melissa knows.
100% correct.
No, and I kick myself for it every time. Melissa knows, because Melissa told me over and over again, what are you doing? No, don't do this. Don't do this. What are you doing? I didn't put a pre-order in the back of my book. I didn't put it in the back border in the back matter for the next book. And I'm like kicking myself for it, because there was nowhere to lead people to get more information, especially if you're not doing a newsletter. And I also just think that people don't sign up for newsletters as much from the back of a book. They're going to sign up for it from other places, but I just haven't seen that many people actually follow through, unless they're getting something. If they're getting something,
you get a bonus scene.
Yes, which is the whole other thing. Marketing, genius right there. If you're trying to build your newsletter, write a bonus scene, write a bonus epilogue, write something that readers get for free that you know that they want, and put it in the back of your book as a here, sign up for my newsletter and you'll get this about these characters. And it's so easy to just send it as an automated, it comes right out. So that's great. But for pre-orders, I didn't do one, and I should have, because I feel like I did lose a lot of traction. I lost a lot of traction. And the biggest thing was that I didn't know, for us, I didn't know when we were moving this year. My husband's in the military, so I did not know when we were going to come. I knew we were coming down on orders this year. I did not know when. I did not know, would we be moving in December? Would we be moving next March? Didn't have an answer. So I didn't put a pre-order because I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to deliver. I wasn't going to be able to follow through. And so I was more worried about that than I was about the pre-order. But I do think I lost some traction just because there wasn't people waiting. If you don't have the next book written, is that what you asked, Patricia? If you don't have it written and don't have it ready?
Yeah, for example, say you're working on your series, right? And you've got it, book 1's out, book 2's out, book 3, you're just getting started, or you're kind of one of those authors like me who decides after the first book that they're going to make it into a series, so they don't have the rest of the series written. How does that work if you are trying to do pre-orders for the next book in the series, but they aren't written? What would your suggestion be?
I would put it way out. So you can put up a pre-order, like Melissa said, you can put up a pre-order up to a year out. I would put it at that full year. For example, I didn't know my next book is the pre-order I released in October. I put the pre-order for the next one for June. Do I know that I could write it in less time? Absolutely. But again, I did not know what this move was going to look like for us. So, and I even wrote, I was very transparent with my readers. I wrote in the back of the book, I said, we're moving. And so I'm going to set this pre-order for June, I think is what I said, June. I'm going to set this pre-order for June. And then we're going to, so this is exactly what I said. So I have my book sitting right here because I was actually working on plotting the next one before we started. So in the back of the book, I put the next one. I did not have I only had a placeholder for my cover. So I put the placeholder holder in, and this is actually it's like a companion book to it. It's not like the main couple. It's another couple that's in the book, but I'm kind of doing theirs because it needs to happen in order, sort of thing. So I said that it's going to be available pre-order in 2022. I said The United, which is book 3 for August and Emery, which follows the sequel to this book. And I said it's set to come out in fall and winter. Keep an eye out on my newsletter, Instagram, and reader group for teasers and a pre-order later this year. If I can move up the release, I 100% will. We have a big move this year. Thanks, Army. So I'm giving myself a little time to get everything completed. So you can be very transparent with them, and say or you can say something as simple as, I know so many authors, and it's a very, like, I feel like it's a more common thing now, where you're seeing a lot of authors, at least a few that I read, put in the back, say like, this is the pre-order, it's a year out, but keep an eye out because we're trying to get it out sooner. Like, I'm trying to get it out sooner, sort of thing. You know what I mean? And I think that's totally okay. That's totally viable. Say like, I'm going to put it out this far, and like I said, I haven't put up the pre-order for the last one because I'm going to put it out for like next December. And then again, I'm hoping to get it out sooner. So I put in the one for Hybrid Rising, and then I will put in the United definitely in the back of that one, but also, also there.
Daddy.
I don't know where Daddy is. Go look for him.
No, he's not anywhere now.
Sorry, I've got children. Go call for him out there, okay?
Oh, he's not here.
He is here. I'll send him a message, okay? I'll send him a message to come find you. Deal?
Okay.
Okay. I did it right now. Close the door.
Oh, look, I made a clubhouse.
It's beautiful. I love your clubhouse. Sorry, guys. It's a whole thing.
Anyone who has children totally gets it.
Yes. So yeah, so I would say like for pre-orders, like I think pre-orders are really smart when you can do it. I understand. And like, it's totally one of those things that like, I also have been in the situation where you just don't know. You just don't know when the next one's going to be done. Is it going to be done? Or maybe it's not, maybe it doesn't exist. You know what I mean? Like you said, like you decided to make it a series after the fact, but it's something that I would then update your back matter. Like, as soon as you did know it, and put up that pre-order, make a big deal about it. Go ask your dad. Like make a big deal about it. Post it everywhere. You know what I mean? That's one of those things when you have those bookstagrammers, when you have those people that will like share your stuff because they've become invested in you as an author. I sent him a message. He'll come find you. Please go. Oh my goodness. So definitely like, yeah, they will help you. They will post it. They will share it. They will do all the things like to help you. And I feel like that's something that like I said, use the tools that you have, use the readers, use the people that are willing to help you. I loved my ARC team. They were so much fun. We had a contest within like the group to see who was like posting where, like, and sharing it and that sort of thing. And like, I gave away like copies of books and stuff like that for like various things throughout like the ARC thing. Let's see. Should pricing be a solid point when it comes to your marketing, especially for pre-orders and series? I feel like this is such a spicy topic because I feel like everybody feels differently. I personally feel like more people took a chance on me as a new author, an unknown author, because when I first released my first book, I had it down at 99 cents. And then I put it up later. I didn't raise my price point until a month after release on my first book. That's just me personally. It also allowed me to be a part of more, when I was doing newsletters and things like that, like it allowed me to be a part of more promos because who doesn't want a book for $1? So it's one of those things that it did allow me to do that. And then I got the readership. And then after that, once you're a little bit more tried and true, I think that people are more willing to pay for it. I know plenty of people who have started at $2.99, $3.99, and done well. I think it also depends on how big your book is. Like, this is a beefy book, okay? Like, it's like 500 something pages. It's a beefy book, so this isn't one that I'm like, I'm not giving this away for 99 cents. This is book 2. But I think that it's something that I do think that you need to price it at what you're worth as well. So it's that kind of catch-22 of obviously you want people to take a chance on you. So you don't want to be priced so high that people aren't willing to take a chance on you, especially if you're not in KU. That's a whole other ballgame is, KU versus wide. I can't say whether one is better than the other. I personally do KU, but that's just me. That's what's worked for me. I've considered taking my stuff wide and going that direction. But as a new author, I think it's worked. I would look at indies if it was me. I think that like, and again, this is a personal preference, but personally, I would look at indies. That's how I base my pricing off of people who are writing books this fat. What are we looking at? Like, what are we pricing at? Like, because I want to be, and people who I'm in their genre, like, because I don't want to be priced so high, especially because I'm still relatively like, as a writer, I'm relatively new. You know what I mean? Like they're still getting to know me. I'm still establishing my brand. I'm not getting, I don't have a following that's going to sit there and back me up. That's going to sit there and, be like, no, she's worth every penny. Do I have some? Yes, absolutely. But are they in every group that I might get recommended in? No. You know what I mean? So until like, that's kind of my personal thing. Again, playing the long game. And like, I always joke with my husband about this, playing the long game, I want to be established. I want to be a tried and true. I want to be a one click. You know what I mean? I don't want to be just like I don't want to like, I have authors that like, I will buy their book. I don't care what the price is. You know what I mean? I look at I see their name and I'm like, nope, I'm buying it. I don't even care. You could tell me after the fact that it was $12. I'd be like, I don't care. Like, I'm still going to buy it every single time. And I want to be that. So, but to be that, I need to establish myself. So I do think,
Krista, I think there's a sweet spot though, that $2.99, $3.99 when you're just starting out, like when you're doing your first series, I think that's the sweet spot.
I do think
because if you're priced under, people aren't going to think your book is worth as much, and if you're priced over, you're too expensive.
I disagree on the under as a new author.
I was going to say, this is where we disagree.
I disagree, but that's just
one of our disagreeing topics.
Yes, I disagree, but that's just me and how I went about it. I do think that upping it after the fact though is important. Like I think pre-order links, I think like pre-orders, like doing specials and things like that are great. And and I did 99 cents too on my first pre-order. Mm-hmm.
But then I raised the release day.
Yes. I do agree with that.
Krista, you mentioned something just a moment ago that is I think, and I know we've got a couple of new authors here that are like brand new. We've got a couple that are just getting their first books out. So if I could just maybe ask you to touch a little bit on the difference between marketing your book versus your brand, because you mentioned brand, and I think that's a huge thing that a lot of newer authors may not have a grasp on.
Absolutely.
Because brand is different than book.
Yes, brand is different than book. Absolutely. So for me, like I always think of your brand as, I feel like it's twofold. Yes, Carolyn, I see you. I feel like brand is twofold. Brand is your readers knowing what they're going to get from you. Knowing what they're going to get from you. So for me, I'm still establishing my brand, but I feel like when a reader picks up my books, it could be, and I'm learning that it's any of my books, any of the books that I have coming down the pipeline, I can tell you right now, they know what they're going to get. They're going to get some kind of royalty, because I am a sucker for royals. They are going to get some kind of found family, because that's an important thing. That's an important theme for me. And there's going to be some sort of theme of good and evil, of light and dark, and that's who I am. That's how I write. That's how my brain works. Those are the stories I want to tell. When I pick up an Amelia Hutchins book, I know that I am going to get alpha holes that I'm probably going to hate first. And then I'm going to fall in love with them because they're ooey gooey on the center, and I'm going to love them. I know when I pick up one of Melissa's books, one of her hockey books, I am going to get snark, I am going to get sass, and I am going to get smut, and I'm going to love every minute of it. So that is the brand that she is creating with.
Also, damn right you are.
Yes. So I know that that's what I'm going to get. That's the overall brand of all her books across the books. That's what I'm getting. I know that's what I'm getting when I pick up a Melissa Ivers book. But then on top of that, you also have the brand that is you. So I know, based on do you have to have a picture for your brand? I don't think so. I like the idea of having a logo. I think that a logo does wonders because you can stick it everywhere. You can stick it on anything that you give out ever. And I wish I had all my stuff because I don't, and I don't have things to show you. And I wish I did. But like, I have it on business cards. I have it on everything. That is my logo. When people see it, like one of my favorite authors has a Irish cross in her like branding, and it's everywhere. And I know when I see that, I think of her. You know what I mean? Mine has actually, it's in the back of my book. I can show you. Mine it's a crescent moon with flowers, and it's got my name, and underneath it says romance, magic, chaos. Like, and that's like what I use as my image, my branding. But I wouldn't say that that's like the most important part. I think it's important to have that just so that you can, how do you work that out? What am I working out? Exactly. So you said when you think of Mal Cooper, you think of fun fashion, like that's out there, like she's fun. You know what I mean? Yes. And like Patricia said, you can't use stock photos or vectors. I had this made. I actually made it. It was something that I did. I had permission from the person that helped me make it. It was the whole thing, but you do need to get permission for that sort of thing. So definitely make sure that you do that. Give credit where credit is due. That's also a big part of marketing. Yes. So you are also like, it's kind of like everybody knows, like you can tell my hair is purple. You know what I mean? So my followers know when they see something flash across their Instagram feeds and it's somebody with fun hair, like colored hair, like before I had rainbows and I've done blue and I've done pink and I've done, thank you, Carolyn. I've done all of the things. And so it's one of those things that like, that's part of my brand, but really it's me. And like, I'm fun. I am really toning it down, but I have the mouth of a sailor and I'm pretty sure my readers could tell you that, like, because I don't hold back from who I am. And so my readers know that. They know like, you're fun. This is kind of what you do. And it's okay to incorporate yourself into your brand. And I think that's so important because like I said, readers eat it up. They eat up being a part of the process, of seeing the process. How many times, I mean, I don't know about you, I'll go down a TikTok rabbit hole where somebody will be explaining something, or like, that's when like my page starts going, it'll have all these things that are all about the same thing. And it's because like, you eat it up. You enjoy seeing the process. Like you enjoy seeing something, or somebody will post something and it's like a process video. They started here and you're like, well, now I have to see what happens next. Like, what do you do next? Some of my favorite authors that I follow on TikTok do series about writing, about what's your process? What do you do? What do you listen to? Like people love that. When you look at the questions that readers ask, if you do like on Instagram stories, you can do like the ask me anything kind of thing where they can like ask questions and like the author will answer them. People eat that up. They want to be like a part of the process. They want to see what you're doing. They love that. But that's a marketing tool. Like I don't think about it because like, it's just one of those things that you're like, yeah, okay. Like, they want to talk to me. Like, that's cool. Like, it's weird. I don't like talking to people, but you know what? They eat it up. They love it. They think it's so cool. I can't tell you how many times my ARC readers have come to me and like, say like, I think it's so cool that you're so approachable that I feel like I can message you if I have a question. And also that's gotten me in to so many places. Like one of my best friends now that I talk to every day is an admin for a big reader group. And it was one of those things that she started as a fan. It started as a fan messaging me being like, hey, so I have a bone to pick with you about this like cliffhanger and like da-da-da-da-da, like, you know what I mean? And it was all in good fun, but it turned into a great friendship. And then it turned into a great thing, like, because like I can now pick her brain and readers' brains and like that sort of thing. And it's great. Like, and I love it. So like, don't discount your readers, like, cause really you're doing it for yourself, but like they're who's consuming it. And like, they're also going to drive you know, what you're doing. And like what comes next sort of thing. You know, I think that's a really big thing not to discount in your marketing and your branding. Be yourself. People eat that up. Like, I know it sounds so cliche, but like really people love it. Yes. So that's a thing. I wanted to touch a little bit on Facebook ads. I'm not as familiar with Amazon ads. That's something that I'm still learning. I actually am taking courses and talking with my friend who is the ad guru, and we're doing I feel like I've learned things in stages. You know what I mean? I understand Amazon. I've done the Brian Cohen class. I've looked, you know, taken notes, that sort of thing. I'm still learning the application. I can tell you a little bit about Facebook ads. Facebook ads they're both my favorite and my least favorite thing in the world. I feel like the bottom line with Facebook ads is you have to spend money to make money. And I say that coming from this past book release, I really sat down and said, I'm going to master Facebook ads. This is what I'm going to do. Like, this is where I'm going to put my money. I'm going to do my paid newsletters. That's fine. I set that money aside, did that, too easy. But then I set down a good chunk of money and I said, I'm going to learn Facebook ads. And it was one of those things that like I had to spend money running tester ads. Like I tested all sorts of ads. I tested man chest. I tested book covers. I tested all the things. I went through and tested various like excerpts from the book, various styles, putting my tropes in the ad. So I did all of the things. Manchest actually is one of the ones that did the best. Like Manchest it's just a thing. Like it is a tried and true thing. There's a reason they're on covers. There's it's just a thing, you know? But it was one of those things that I went through, and it was one of I spent like probably a good 4 days just sitting watching Amazon or Facebook all day long. Like I had it up, I had my ad manager open, and I was watching my cost per click. I was watching my impressions. I was watching how it changed based on what I put out there. And if it wasn't working, stop it. Like, you know what I mean? Don't let it get up there. Just stop it. You know what I mean? I believe I did clicks. It was my cost per click. But it tells you, you can basically, like on Facebook, it does tell you, and you can see the breakdown then. Even if you're playing cost per click, you're getting, it shows you the impression. So you can kind of do the math and say like, okay, each click is costing me this, I'm getting this many impressions. And it gives you the number of basically for every person that sees it, this is how many people are clicking on it. I think it's the CPI. No, it's not the CPI. I'll look right now. But I sat there for days and did this and watched them go up and down, watched what was working, killed the ones that weren't working, you know, and tried something new until I found one that worked, until I found one that got under 10 cents a click. And then I was like, okay, saved it. And that's the one I ran, stopped everything else. And then I pumped money into that one. And I saw the return, you know, I saw the return in my sales. I saw it in my read through. I found that like for me personally, my readers are reading through KU. That was what I noticed because I am a KU author. My page reads were higher than my buys, but that didn't matter to me. I was still getting I was getting the read through because I was doing my ads on book 1 for the series. So that worked, but it is a messing around, playing with your audience, playing with and finding what works for you. And I think that's also a part of it, is like to do that, to find who your audience is. You need to start looking, like I said, looking in the groups. Who's in these groups with you? Who's reading your stuff? So it's really taking that deeper dive and figuring out who is your audience. Who is your audience? Which is, when marketing a series, do you focus on the entire series, the first book, and hope for trickle down? I focus on the first book, but mine are interconnected. You have to read the first book. So it's one of those things that for me, I have to have them read the first book to read the rest of them. So that's how I did it. But I feel like if you're doing interconnected standalones, you could absolutely pump it towards the one that you're on right now, unless they have to read the first book to understand the rest.
I
If they
also did only first book, and
You did on your standalone?
Yes,
Yeah.
I did. It's first in series, but I only did that one just because it will drive the rest.
I do think that read through is a real thing. And if there's not read through, I think that then there's a bigger question as to why is there not read through? You know what I mean? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely put a reading list in the back matter. I think your back matter is so important. People always discredit your back matter, but I think back matter is so important, especially right at the end. So I always do a, I can show you since I have it. So my very first page after is always a thank you for reading. It's always a thank you for reading and an ask for review. That basically it's like, because it doesn't hurt to ask. It does not hurt to ask because reviews sell books, guys. Reviews sell books. Like people look at that. That's a thing. Not everyone, but a lot of people look at reviews. So I always do an ask for reviews. And if you enjoyed it, sort of thing, then I always do a what's next? What comes next? You know what I mean? And then I always do you have your acknowledgements, and then I always do a page. It's not in this one because it's print, but I always do a page that has a link to everything, to all the things. My website, all the things, newsletter, Instagram, Facebook, all the things. Because I think that's important. If they don't know, we have a friend that just released a book and just released a book and isn't seeing read through into her second book. And I was like, well, do you have a link in the back? And she was like, no. I was like, well, there's your problem. Nobody knows what comes next. If they don't know what comes next or what to find out what comes next, how are they going to know to go there? And maybe it's not, even if you don't have, like I put in the back, I have a contemporary pen name that has one tiny novella on it. You bet your butt I put it in every single one of my PNR books. Hey, if you like this, but you also like contemporary, check out this really great Christmas book that I wrote. And do I have a lot of read through? No. But is it there if somebody wants it? Yes, because all it takes is one. All it takes is one to get you there. So definitely, I think back matter is a big thing. And now I feel like I've talked for a really long time. So please, if you guys have questions, please ask me.
I have tons of questions, some of which I already know the answers to, but I'm always interested in getting the second opinion or a different point of view on them.
Okay.
So when you're talking about, playing to your strengths with your marketing, now you've also got your contemporary pen name as well. Some of us are crazy and we have, 3 or 4 or 5 pen names. I don't know who that could possibly be, but
don't know. No.
Do you think it helps marketing wise to have, even if it's just a link to the other pen names, social media, website, etc.?
Like in your books?
In the back matter of the book, yeah.
Yeah, sure, why not?
I feel like we're going to disagree, Krista.
Yeah, the way that I see it is that it's like you are giving somebody the opportunity. If they like your writing, and I struggled with this a bunch because, like I said, I did split off and do 2 pen names. I initially published it under KM Reeves, decided not to. When in the anthology, I published it under KM Reeves. And then when I republished it on its own, I decided to do a pen name. Because I wanted it separate in case I ever did decide to write contemporary, which I have contemporary stories. I just don't know when I'm going to get to them, but maybe someday, so I figured establishing that as separate good from the get-go was good. I'm totally for it. I feel like I know a lot of authors that do that put that, hey, because the thing is that it's not just, there's so much crossover. I am a primarily PNR and fantasy reader, but I love contemporary. I love dark contemporary, and I'm here for it. You know what I mean? I love it. And so it's one of those things that like there is crossover. So I believe if it's one of those things that you think that there's going to be crossover. So like there's definitely crossover from PNR to contemporary, from fantasy to contemporary. There are readers that do both. What would you suggest for genre benders? What do you mean by genre benders?
Actually heard about it from Clarissa on YouTube. Genre benders are people like me who write generally a mashup of 2 or more genres together. And so like it's not just sci-fi, fantasy, romance, paranormal. We'll do a mashup of 2 or more genres all in one.
Yeah.
And then we have different books in different genres and we're all over the map. What do we do?
See, here's the thing. I would still include it in your back matter, and here's why. Because I have had so many people comment that they love my writing. It's not just the subject matter that they love. They love how I write. They love how I put the words together to tell this story. And if they like that, then they might like my other stuff. What's the worst that's going to happen? They're going to flip through the page and I'm going to get the page read anyways. You know what I mean? Like, but that's my personal, like, because I read all over the map. And I think that there are a lot of people who also read all over the map, and that there are those that kind of like crossing. So if you think that it's something, now I will say, obviously, if you're writing sweet, you know, romance, and then in another pen name, you're writing erotica, obviously I would not put that in the same book. I just wouldn't. I feel like those are two totally opposites. Like, I wouldn't do that. You know what I mean? I don't think that that's necessarily a smart choice, but I do think that if it's something like I said, for me, both of mine are sexy. They are both adult. They are both, they're both for adult readers. And there is crossover. You know what I mean? I do think that there's crossover from, you know, sci-fi to paranormal. There is crossover from fantasy to paranormal. You have sweet and fluffy under my name and more adult. Exactly. You know what I mean? So you have that, but you wouldn't necessarily put them next to each other. You know what I mean? Exactly. So I think that that's something that like you would maybe like consider doing. I'm all for putting it in the back matter. Like I said, what is it? I don't think it hurts. I think as long as it's something that there could potentially be crossover, which there probably is, as long as they're not stark opposites, then I'd put it in there. Why not?
Okay. And I'm sure that others are going to have questions, but I just jotted down as you were talking a bunch of them. So I'll go through mine. And then if anyone else has questions, please just, you know, raise your hand, unmute yourself, so that we can, you know. So, you know, you talked about ARC readers, and this is one area where I know a lot of us struggle finding ARC readers that, you know, it's not necessarily getting the ARC readers, it's more getting the getting them to meet the expectation, the commitment that they've made. You know, I have a list of ARC readers, and I just released one book. I just released Gladiator's Promise that just came out, sent it out to my ARC readers. I had one ARC reader say, well, I'm really busy this month, I won't get to it till December. I had one that didn't even download it. I used BookFunnel to send out my, you know, and because it's secure, and they didn't even bother picking it up. I even sent them an email away from BookFunnel and said, hey, please check your email, please check your spam. So what would you suggest for authors who are struggling to get their ARC readers to commit and to follow through on that commitment to actually reading and leaving that review?
To be perfectly honest with you, the best thing that I ever did for myself was hire a PA. And here's why. I am super non-confrontational. I am not a confrontational person.
I just want you to hear that I'm laughing right now.
Melissa knows me. Melissa's like one of my best friends, guys. She knows me so well. I am so non-confrontational. It's not even funny. My PA is the sweetest person that you will ever meet in your life. but she feels so strongly that people who get a free book should leave a review, because that's what it doesn't have to be a nice review. It just has to, like, it has to be a review. You know what I mean? And if you don't want to leave a review, or you can't for whatever reason, like, just tell me. I don't care. You know what I mean? And I did have some people say, like, hey, like, I didn't get to it. You know what I mean? But I'm gonna try and get to it by this day. Cool. You know what I mean? They were really cool. So Carolyn, let me answer Carolyn's question. What does a PA do, and how do you find the right one for you? It's a lot like dating. And I found mine through Melissa. So, like, it worked out because we have the same PA.
I do a lot of dating for her.
She does do, again, non-confrontational, guys. She does a lot of dating for me.
I put out sooner in the dating.
Yeah. Oh, she is hands down my wing woman, guys. Like, she's my wing woman for sure. So that's how I met her, through Melissa. But that's another thing. Ask other authors. Like, find other authors, whether they don't necessarily have to be in your genre. Brittany doesn't read P&R, like, at all, but she's more of a bully romance contemporary reader. That's her jam. But she didn't need to read P&R to be my PA. You know what I mean? So you really negotiate with them. I hired her specifically for ARC teams. And so that's what I'm paying her for. So there are some PAs that do a blanket overall. They'll do everything for you. They're going to be a little bit more costly, but for me, like, there are a lot that will do it just based on what you need. So, like, I've hired PAs in the past to help me with newsletters, just to learn book funnel, to learn what to do, sort of thing, because I had no idea. Like I said, Brittany is my ARC team PA, and because that's really what I need her for. And she is worth her weight in gold. We both did a lot of the cold messaging people, which I will come back to, Patricia, in finding the right people, and I'll talk about that. So actually, I'll talk about it right now. So, kind of like, what we did was, Brittany and I both sat down and we said, okay, this is what we're going to do. We went through and we did a lot of what I said, like, on Instagram. We looked up hashtags. We looked up hashtags for books that are similar to my book. We looked up authors that were similar to my book. And my biggest thing that I found with ARC readers, and it also depends, what do you want from your ARC readers? Mm-hmm. Do you want your ARC readers to also be a part of your street team, like, or basically act as a street team who's going to help promote you? Do you want your ARC readers to just leave a review? I guess it just depends what you're expecting from them. Personally, how I approached it was, I want reviews, and I want people who are going to help promote me, assuming that they enjoyed the book. So that was I want underground, or like guerrilla marketing, where it's not marketing I have to pay for. And I guess you do, because you're giving them a free book, but that's, besides the point. So I wanted that, and I wanted reviews, Okay. So that was my goal. To do that, I can't guarantee Sally from down the street is going to do this, but a bookstagrammer has just as much, like, skin in the game as I do, because they want their audience to grow. They want, if I have a bad experience with a bookstagrammer, and I tell Melissa, and Melissa tells you, and you tell Carolyn, and, like, it goes on, then you kind of, like, you know what I mean? Like, so they have just as much skin in the game. They want authors to keep giving them arcs. You know what I mean? Because if you don't review, if you don't do it, I'm not going to include you next time. Why would I do that? Mm-hmm. So that's why I found for my arcs, I went specifically for bookstagrammers. I found them. I had no problem cold messaging them and saying, like, hey, you want this book for free? All you have to do is give me an honest review. And I had a form that they filled out that gave me all of their stuff. And kind of did it that way. You know what I mean? They gave me all their information, where they could post and what they could do. And we went from there, and we created a master list. We did a Google sheet that had everybody's information, their emails, their Instagram handles, I did get some that were readers that I got just from putting out an open call. Like I have one in my link tree that says join my ARC team that will continuously populate, and that's all I'll get notifications when I get a new one.
Yeah.
And so I'll do that. And so I do get some readers, but mostly I'll get Bookstagrammers. And I'll do the cold calls for Bookstagrammers. And honestly, I think that that's been the best way for me to find it. And like I said, I found them through looking at what they're reading, like interacting with some of their other posts, like, and then just reaching out to them. They are all so nice. And they will tell you like, hey, like my schedule's booked. I can't do it, but I see you're in KU. Like I'll add it to my TBR, or I'm going to add it to my TBR. And then when I get around to it, I'll definitely share. You know what I mean? And so they're super, super cool about it. And then as far as getting people to follow through, that was a Brittany job, because like I said, I'm not confrontational.
Yeah, I totally get you 100% there. It's like, yeah, no, I'm not, I got better things to do. I don't want to play.
Right. And I don't want to like chase people. So like that was a Brittany job, and she didn't mind doing it. Like she was all about it, like, which is so funny because she's the sweetest person. Like you would not expect that from her.
Yeah.
But like sweetest person. And she definitely, we created a Facebook group as well, like to put everybody in, and a lot of them joined the Facebook group. And that allowed us to, like, it was easier for me to communicate that way, because not everybody checks their emails. Sometimes it goes to spam. Sometimes, you know, there's just like, but she helped me. I made her an admin of the group with me, and she helped do that. She put out reminders. She chased people down and was like, hey, like, you know, did you do your reviews? Like, you know, some people have people post links. Like we did like a form that they could fill out when they finished them, like, or what they like agreed to do, sort of thing. I also made it fun. I did like a competition where I said, okay, for every like place that you post, and it doesn't matter where you post it, you could post it on your wall, you could post it on your Instagram, you can make a TikTok, you can make a YouTube video, you could, whatever you do, for whatever it is you do, take a screenshot and put it in this one post, sort of thing. And then we went through the end and tallied it at the end, and the top 5 people all got a hard copy of the book sent to them.
Wow.
And so that was like kind of a cool incentive, like for them to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that Facebook group really, really gives them accountability to actually read and follow through.
I think it does. The problem is, and I know I'm not the only one, I have my reader groups and I crickets, and I've tried, you know, all the tips that are out there. It's crickets, literally crickets. But I do get, which is really weird, because I get more feedback from my page than I do from the page from my books than I do from the Facebook group. So it's just, I think Facebook groups are great. Don't get me wrong here. I'm not knocking them, but I think it's also, you have, you said it brilliantly. You have to go with your strengths. And I'm more of the.
I'm with you. I'm terrible at it. My Facebook group, I never remember to post in it. I never remember, like, I post about release. Occasionally I remember to post something. I just don't do it. I'm really bad at it. I'm better at Instagram. I'm better at like doing a photo and like that sort of thing. I also just really, I like the Facebook, like, or the Instagram, like interface better.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's, I do have a resource that I was able to get, and it was free to be shared. So I will share that for anyone who's interested on picking out your strengths and your weaknesses. I actually got it from Alessandra Torre off of a webinar that she did. She said that she could share it. So I will post that into the group for anyone who's interested, because Krista is absolutely 100%. Yeah, you got to play up your strengths. So here's my question for you, and I'm going to use myself as the scapegoat here. I am one of these people who is notorious for, I will bend over backwards to help everybody else, and then I'm like I'm in the back here with a little flame going, hello, I'm here. So do you know, for marketing wise, do you think that it would be better if that is your personality? You know, where you're more of the, let's just give. Would it be more advantageous as an author to look at hiring a PA who can help with those things that you know, you don't want to do. Like, I mean, for me, I get more feedback on my posts about my crocheting and the cats and the dogs and the new hairstyle and, you know, those sorts of things. But when I talk about my books, and I think it's because I'm very passive when I do it. So would you suggest that it would be a good idea to hire a PA who is maybe has no shame and is absolutely okay with
Yeah, I think, like I said, if you don't, like I said, non-confrontational. So for me, as soon as like I met Brittany and Melissa was talking about how she's got no shame and she'll like handle it for you, I'm like, how do I hire this girl? How can I make her mine? Like I need her. I need her in my life. You know what I mean? And so it's one of those things that like I do. I think that it's smart to, like, just the other day I was like, all right, I'm gonna do this newsletter thing. I'm gonna do it, guys. I'm actually gonna do it. 2022 is my year for newsletters, guys. I'm gonna do it. So what did I do? I hired a PA to make all of my templates for me so that I don't have to do it. Why? Because I am not good at that. I will put it off. I will ask me to make an ad graphic all day long. I love working in Photoshop. I love doing them. I love looking for stock photos like all day long. Ask me to procrastinate and not write my book. Yes, absolutely. I'm looking at deposit photo and doing things that I shouldn't be doing all day long. Ask me to make my newsletter templates. Like, ooh, I think maybe I have something else I could, maybe I'll actually go write my book, you know, because I just know myself, I'm not going to do it. You know what I mean? So I was like, no, I will pay the $30, the $50, whatever it is. I will pay that money to have somebody make those templates for me. So all I have to do is drag and drop when it comes time to do those newsletters. Work smarter, not harder, my friend. If that is hard for you, find somebody that can help you with it, because there are people out there that will do it. And to me, that's an investment that's worth it. Me personally, that's 100%. I'm like, you know what? If it makes my life easier, I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? Because it's a whole thing. It's just a thing. You know, there's only so many hours in a day. We have to write our books. We have to do all the other things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things that it's like, no, like just do it. Like get somebody else to help you with it. And you make great friends that way. Like Brittany's become one of my really good friends. Like, you know what I mean? Like she's great. I love her. Like she's getting a Christmas card this year, you know? Yep. So it's just one of those things. You make great friends along the way that are going to help you out and like take advantage of that.
Okay. That's good. That's really good advice, because like I say, you know, and I'm not the only one, and I know that I am not the only one in the group that is like that. Just ask Carolyn. She knows me very, 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 very well.
Yeah.
So it's really, I think when you're playing up your strengths and your weaknesses, you know, it's a really good idea. If it's not something you want to do, hire someone that can do it. Now we're coming into the end of the year. And I am bound and determined to plan out my next year because I have this new vision for my career. So what do you think about doing, like, you know, the author business plan, marketing plan at the end of the year? Do you do one? Would you recommend it? Not recommend it? Thoughts?
I don't think I have thoughts like one way or the other. I am hands down a planner just so that I can throw the plan out the window later. Every time. I have 3 books out as of right now. I have 3 books out with 2 more, 3 more. Melissa, when does Monsters come out? Next year?
Next year. So you're going to be doing 3 next year.
3 next year, at least, maybe 4. So there's a lot coming down the pipeline. But yes, 3 books out so far. But I have, like I said, I have a degree in advertising and marketing. And I was lucky enough to start my authorship career with a really fantastic mentor. And so that mixed with my background in marketing and advertising, I think really helped me out in that aspect. Am I a best-selling author? No, not yet. Someday. But I do really enjoy
someday,
it.
bitch, someday.
Someday.
The yet is the key word in that statement here.
The yet is the key word. But yeah, like I said, I was really lucky to have a really great mentor like as I was starting. And I think that's also great. If you can find someone that like can help take you under their wing, and just like we said, any of you are free to message me whenever, like no shame, do it. Like you have questions, message me, do it. Because like I feel like that's so important. I feel like it's important to have people in the author community that you can reach out to and ask questions.
Yeah, I feel like the people that have already done 2 or 3, sometimes 4 books, who have been by themselves, and like we're meeting them now, we're like, oh my God, like why haven't you been doing this or this or this? And it's all these things that they should be doing, and they're like, oh, I don't understand why I'm not getting people reading my books. And we're like, oh my God.
Do all the things. It's a lot. It's a lot. We always joke that writing is what, like
40%.
40% of the process is writing the actual book. The other 60% is the marketing, all the things. All the things.
Yeah.
So like it's definitely
it is. And I don't think it's ever too late to jump in to learn new things.
No, at all. I'm learning new things in this business every day.
Yeah.
Every day I feel like I am learning something new.
Is anyone here no, it really isn't. Is anyone here in the group taking MiniCon in January? I'm hearing crickets, so I'm going to assume no. So Anchors Con is putting out a 2-day MiniCon. It's only going to be 4 different classes. There's no roundtables, nothing like that. And it's supposed to be pretty good. What's coming up is supposed to be pretty good. So I'm supposed to be going next year. I will share all of the resources that I can. I will give you my notes. I'm not going to give you the handouts, that sort of thing, but I'll share the notes with everyone so that you guys can see that as well, because I think they're going to be covering marketing and branding in January. Could be wrong, but I will share that. Back to questions. I kind of derailed there. Okay, so when you're talking about groups there, Krista, you were talking about interacting in the groups and that sort of thing. Do you find, and I think we had this conversation a while back when we were talking about finding our readers, but do you find that it's easier to connect with readers when you're talking as a reader or as an author?
Both. So I'm in a lot of groups as like both my author name and my reader name. And I always forget which one I'm on because I usually only keep my author Facebook open on my computer and my personal Facebook open on my phone. That's kind of just the distinction that I've made. Occasionally I'll switch over, but that's like, it's a good like split for me to do that. So there have definitely been times where I thought I was commenting as like one and then I wasn't. So I definitely have to watch that. How do you go around having a non-profile on your Facebook? Not entirely positive. I don't remember how I did it, but I did it and no one has questioned me. So I'm just running with it. I will say that all of my groups, all of my pages, all of my everything were made by my personal account and then added my other one as an admin so that it's all under my personal. I know that I did have to use a second email. I had to use a second email. I also know that you can apply if they do disable your account, you can apply to have it rectified. I don't remember what the keyword to say is though. I think it has something to do with it being part of your business, or the other option is to have an LLC in that name or to have some sort of business documents in that name to prove that it's a thing. It's a whole thing. I don't remember exactly, but I do remember reading a post about it at one point.
I feel like it's the LLC thing because then that shows it's like a business instead of like them just thinking you're impersonating somebody.
No.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
I think it has to do with business documentation. Now, depending on where you are, and I do know that we do have some of our members who are not in the US, some of us are in Canada, some of us are in Australia. So here in Canada, we don't call them LLCs. And we also have the option to do a sole proprietorship. Now, I know when I had my publishing house open a few years ago, I had Facebook under that publishing house. And what I had to do was submit documentation that actually proved that it was a sole proprietorship. Like I had to submit the registration documentation from the Canadian government that said, hey, yeah, no, this is a sole proprietorship business.
Right.
So it's just something that I would look into if they've disabled your author account, and you don't want to go through that whole room. Create a page, create groups through that page, and then you can you can play around with it. I don't know, Krista, do you want to answer that question about forming an LLC right away?
I think it goes both ways. I don't have an LLC right now. I am in the process of doing an LLC. I'm waiting till we move to North Carolina because North Carolina has better like stuff for LLCs. So that's the only reason. Oklahoma is ridiculous when it comes to the hoops you have to jump through for an LLC. So I'm waiting till we move to North Carolina. I wish it cost me $50, Carolyn. Here, like you have to have like a business account that has like $5,000 in it or like something like that. It was something like ridiculous. And I was just like, I don't have $5,000 sitting around for me to just keep in an account for no reason. Yeah, it was insane. So I was like, oh wait, thanks. But North Carolina has much better state laws for that. So I'm doing one when I get to North Carolina. I do think that it's smart to do an LLC, especially as your business grows. Or tax. Yes, well, like in the US, at least I know, I don't know how it works in other countries, but I know like in the US, Carolyn, I want to move to Colorado. That's the end all be all dream. That's where we're going to end up for sure. So we, in the States, like there's just when you have the LLC, it does make taxes a lot easier, and you can write off everything anyways, but they can, it just makes it a lot easier to do all of that.
If you get sued for anything under your author name or anything, it goes through your LLC and it doesn't go to anything personal.
Yes,
exactly.
Not that we hope you get sued, but should it ever happen for whatever reason, they can't go for any of your personal effects or anything like that. So that's like a big part of it.
Which is a really good thing. I'm actually surprised that you guys have to renew your LLCs every year. We don't. We pay, what is it? Here in Saskatchewan, it's $345 for an LTD, which is the same as the LLC. It's called a limited corporation. And we pay $345. The government does all of the filing. Like literally, I fill out a form online. They do everything. They send me a PAP. They send me a book, but that's it. I'm done. Yeah. I do not have to worry about doing minutes. I do not have to worry about setting anything up. It's all done for me. One-time flat fee. And yes, I know I get free ISBNs.
I wish we got free ISBNs.
I'm actually going to, I will be doing next year, not this year, because next week is the last round table for the year. I'm taking 2 weeks off. I'm shameless and selfish. But I'm going to be doing something next year on ISBNs, that sort of thing. So, but I think that those are really important to have, especially when you're dealing with print, that sort of thing. So next question for you, Krista. What should I, as an author, be focusing on for, when I'm initially starting out? Like, should I be focusing on marketing myself or my books, brands, series, etc., or should it be a complete package? Because I know one of the things that I hear so much of, and I totally agree with this, is you want to build readers' trusts. So where should I start? And then Carolyn has an amazing question, which we are going to get to.
I would say all of the above. I think it's never too early to start sharing snippets of your stuff, start giving readers a taste of what you kind of have coming down the pipeline, what you're doing, that sort of thing. I think that's like super, super great, and readers love that. I think that you should be interacting as yourself or your page. The nice thing is that in a lot of groups, not all groups, as long as they have if you don't have an author profile, you can interact as your page as well. In most groups, not all, it depends if they have it turned on or not. But if they do, you can interact with your page. Like I said, they love it. And there are a lot of groups out there that now cater to authors as well. There are plenty that say, no, don't do any sort of anything about anything talking about yourself, because they don't want that. But there are a lot more now that will allow, like, whether it be self-recs or like talking about things or asking questions like to readers and that sort of thing. Absolutely do it. You know what I mean? Because you are creating that brand. You're creating who you are. You're creating what you're going to get, like, from you as an author. And I think that that's important. I think I started doing everything with mine probably about 6 months before I put out the Christmas anthology, which would have been like almost a year before I put out my first book. And I started joining groups, whether all kinds of groups, reading groups, cover groups, all the things, you know what I mean, in my author name. That way I had them all, like, kind of, you know, at my fingertips. I was watching, I was learning the entire time. Interact in the author groups as well. You're going to get to know other people. That's how I met Melissa, was, you know, and how I met you guys, like, you know, was in an author group, that sort of thing. So you're going to meet people along the way. You're going to do all that. I think it's so important. And I don't think you can start that too early. You know what I mean? I don't think there's a right answer there. Like, I think that it's one of those things that you keep doing that and share your stuff. You'll meet people along the way, you know?
I have another question for you in regards to covers, but we're going to get to Carolyn's question. Now, for those of us who are not in the United States, this question does not necessarily apply yet, but it may at some point. So is marketing for Kindle Vella the same as marketing for regular books?
So Vella isn't, I'll start this by saying that Vella isn't my purview, but from what because I'm not doing Kindle Vella, so I can't say for sure what results look like. But I would say that it's very similar. You obviously still want to have your brand. You still want to have who you are, what readers are going to get from you. You can do things like, I think of it in the sense that, like, we have all seen on our Facebook feeds the ads that take you to the various, like, reading apps to read, where you pay per chapter or per episode or however they do it. We've all seen those. We've all clicked on them, you know, only to find, like, okay, this is where this is taking me. Like, and you're all in, or yes, exactly. So, like, you're either all in or you're not, you know what I mean? And you click and you go and you spend your money and you do your things. Like, that's the dream, right? That's what you want people to do. So I've had a few friends that did do Vella, and they ran Facebook ads just like they would for their regular stuff. And they did see some return. They did see some drive. I honestly don't know enough about the audience for Kindle Vella. I don't know enough about it to say for sure that that's the route to go. And I don't know that Amazon, like, is doing, I don't know if they're doing ads for Vella, you know, through their through AMS. Like, I'm not 100% sure. I wish I had more answers for you, Carolyn. Like, I really did. I am going to try and see, like, I asked my mentor and she was going to look into it to see if she could get some answers. But I don't know. I don't know. Should I wait to do ads till I have the perfect cover for my stories? I would definitely make sure you have covers. Like, I think that's, yeah, I would definitely wait till you have covers, until you have something that represents what you're doing. That way there's a visual, especially because I feel like with Vella, you really only get that little, like, the circle, right? Yeah, I would definitely go with what you're, yeah, I think I agree with you. The images, like, they really stand out. And so I would wait till you have those, and I would make sure that those are the images that are there, because they're going to help sell your story. Just like a cover helps sell your story for regular books.
So a fantasy cover that is, if the story is manga, and I'm sorry if I butchered the word, then the cover should reflect that, not necessarily the fantasy covers. Is that a safe takeaway?
I would say yes. Again, I'm going to caveat that by saying like, I don't know the market as well on Vella, but I would say yes, that I would lean towards, you want to sell the story. You want to sell what you're getting. For example, I have a friend that just like she didn't know why her book wasn't like, they didn't know that it was an RH because they didn't know it was reverse harem because there was one guy on the cover, like a guy and a girl on the cover. So they assumed it wasn't a single couple when it was a reverse harem. And so like there was this disconnect, you know what I mean? So like, I think of it in that sense, like you want to try, because you're trying to bring your readers in, I feel like you don't want them to get the wrong idea when they're looking at it.
Okay. Which brings me to the next question that I had now. Caroline, did you have any follow-up questions before I ask my question? I don't mean to cut you off here. So if you have follow-up questions, by all means.
Oh, no. Thank you. It's led to a lot of realizations of, oh, I can do this and this and this. And this one is a little too different, so I can just keep the cover for that. But I really, really do need to change for these two because they really are following in the style of light novels, although they're American style. So thank you.
Of course.
So now, and I know that some of us have struggled with this, covers not matching the story, the genre, you know, and I think that's really important to have covers that actually speak to the story. So from a marketing standpoint, and Kelly, I'm completely going to throw you under the bus here again. She has really, really good stories. I mean, she's got they're not a sweet romance, but they're more of a light, you know, small town romance. The covers that she currently has are absolutely gorgeous, but they're black and they're dark and they're, you know, they're the rich guy in the suit kind of leaning back in that sexy pose. And it's more, to me, they scream more cold CEO or bully romance as opposed to, diet romance. So how important is it as an author to know the reader expectations for when you're talking to your cover artist to do your covers?
So important. So important. I feel like, and I think that and it's something that I feel like you learn as you go. And it's something that I had to like reevaluate as well. I can totally see, based on like what Patricia said, I can totally see how there was that disconnect. And I think that it is so important to know kind of what the expectation is and what is being done in your genre. And I mean, obviously you want something different, you want something unique, but also you still want to emulate what is going on in the genre and what is being kind of like, you know, shown on these covers, because your cover it's what's going to draw people in. It's what's going to, you want them to know what they're getting. So I'll give you, of course, I don't have it sitting next to me right now. So I'll give you a perfect example. When I was doing my rebranding of my covers, because I did a rebrand when book 2 came out, I ended up redoing all my covers for just really we're not even going to get into that. It was just bad juju. Things happened. I had to get new covers. So got new covers. And when I first got the first mock-up back this was a new artist to me. She came highly recommended. I love her. Absolutely adore her. And I loved her art. So I like reached out to her, decided to work with her. She sent me a mock-up, and my story is PNR with vampires in a castle. And what she sent me looked very fairy tale retelling instead of PNR. So it was one of those things that I kind of like, I sent it to a few of my friends who are also in PNR and said, hey, what do you think of this? Like, for like kind of the direction we're going for these new covers, how do you feel about it? And they all said the same thing. They're like, it looks fairy tale retelling. It doesn't feel PNR to me. And I feel like all we did was we changed the color of the dress to red, from blue to red. We added a moon, added some fog and some clouds, and put fang marks on her, like blood dripping fang marks on her neck. And it changed the whole like feel of the cover. And like I was amazed. Like I just those few minor changes really like sold that this is a PNR. This is something a little darker than a fairy tale romance. And this is what you're getting. We're getting vampires, we're getting the castle, we're getting the moon. There's going to be, we got the dress. Like it's a bachelor competition. You know what I mean? Like after that, they're like, no, this says like, I see what I'm getting when I see this, So just making those changes is because this is the first introduction. It was actually, I think, from an Inkers Con. I watched like my first year doing Inkers Con. I watched a video and it was the great debate on if you only have so much money, should you spend it on an editor or a cover designer? And where do you put your money? And 90% of the authors said covers every time. Because you can always go back once you've made some money, you can always go back and edit it. You can always go back and do revisions. You can publish a second version. Yeah. But you can't take away a first impression. You know what I mean? You can't take away that first impression of a cover. They're not even going to get to the book if they don't click on it. Yeah. So it's kind of one of those things that I would absolutely invest in your covers, invest in and know the norms, know what's expected of you in that genre, emulate that while also trying to be, different.
So when you're, as an author, when you are studying the covers on Amazon, and when I'm looking to do covers for my books, because I do my own covers, I don't just go to Amazon. I go to Amazon, I go to Kobo, I go to Barnes and Noble, I go to Goodreads, so I kind of shop around. So, which I think is a really good idea. And that's just me, but as an indie author, would you say that it is better to focus on the indie covers rather than the trade covers? Because trade covers tend to look different. They tend to be different than indie covers in your genre. I mean, if you go and you look at any Amazon page, right, you go and do a search, there's always going to be the trade ones that stand out a little bit more. You can't compete with trade. So would it, as an indie author, my question would be, as an indie author, would it be better just to focus on the indie covers because that's your direct competition?
I would say yes. Overall, I would pay more. I would give more weight to indie covers, but I wouldn't rule out trad completely because I feel like sometimes your trad covers are what is the direction that indie then goes. You know what I mean? Okay. So you notice trad covers all went towards in contemporary and rom-com-y style books. They all trad covers first made the shift to the illustrated cartoony covers. Yeah. And now you're seeing the same thing in indie. Indie is starting to follow that trad lead. You know what I mean? So if it looks like it's something that's going to pick up, obviously it's one of those things that can you get ahead of the trend? That would be awesome. You know what I mean? You're taking a calculated risk, but if you think that it's going to go with it. Same thing in fantasy, object covers on the rise. You know what I mean? For object and typography covers on the rise for in trad for the big books. That's what you're seeing a lot of, a lot. Is it also carrying over into indie? Yeah, you bet it is. Don't get me wrong. There is still a place for Manchester and fantasy and PNR. And there is a place for your strong heroines in urban fantasy, but you are seeing a lot of people lean into that, follow the trend of, your object covers. So I'd say that there's definitely, I'd put more of your weight in indie, but I wouldn't discount those trad trends.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions? I only have one left on my sheets. if you do, you can just unmute yourself and ask, or raise your hand. I will see you, I hope. Let's just move that out of the way, then I will see you. You mentioned earlier, you had talked about following hashtags and those sorts of things. And I'm going to use a couple of examples here. Carolyn is a prime example, and some of her stuff that she's got coming out, especially with the manga style, the light novels, those sorts of things. My work is more dark. Well, the historical is more of the dark historical romance. So what would you suggest on how to go about finding those hashtags, finding that information to start following, to build that connection, especially on Instagram?
I would just start looking. So like, it's one of those things that it's kind of you just kind of have to look and find and hit the pocket and see what you're going to get. So like, I just looked up historical romance novels, and it asks me if I want to follow it. I'd maybe like look through it first, see what's popping up under there.
Yeah.
See like, okay, is this meeting what I need it to meet? You know what I mean? That sort of thing. Am I going to be able to find bookstagrammers who are putting stuff up on here that's going to help me out? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I would say, okay, yes or no. And if so, follow it. You know what I mean? Historical romance readers, like, look at that. That's got 11,000 posts. So kind of look at it that way, see what's going on there. And it's very much unfortunately, it's very much a trial and error of finding what works. I also look at the hashtags of like people, like I go back and look at those who I'm following, like for my own stuff. And I look, what hashtags are they using? Like, I didn't know romanticy, like mashing together romance and fantasy. Had no idea that was like a hashtag that people were using, but I saw it on one of my followers and I was like, okay. And I clicked on it. I was like, oh yes, I need to be here. This is where I want to be. You know what I mean? So like, start looking at that and say like, okay, like this is going to help me or it's not going to help me, like that sort of thing, and kind of start following those. And then the other thing is just making that you do spend time on Instagram, that you are spending time, you're interacting, even if it's just liking posts here and there. But you got to be on there to see what people are posting in those, or you got to like kind of check back with those hashtags and see what's going on here. Like what's new? The other cool thing is like, is there trends going on? For a while, everybody was doing the book stacks of like sharing like all their book stacks and stuff like that. Is that something you can do? Do you have something that goes with that? Like, so keep an eye on that sort of things. Was there anything you did to gain followers before you had books out on Instagram? I did a lot of snippets, sharing teasers, that sort of thing, sharing things about what my book was going to be about, participating, like, interacting with other people. A lot of bookstagrammers will follow you back if like you follow them and then they see that you're an author, they'll follow you back. So that helps as well, trying to kind of just to interact. I think the biggest thing is interacting with other posts and interacting with Instagrammers, both readers and bookstagrammers, and then just kind of going from there. And teasers is a big one, or posting like inspiration things, posting collages, like mood boards from your book, like with a little teaser about what it's about, like, or one line or that sort of thing. Pretty things. Instagrammers like pretty things, and like pretty things are hard because then you have to like spend time like making the pretty things, but also I really like making the pretty things. So like, but like, even if it's just as simple as learning Canva, Melissa's a whiz at Canva. Like I can't do anything in Canva to save my life. So I just do everything in Photoshop, but like she does everything in Canva, and like she just a wizard. I don't know how she does it. So, but like, even if it's just that, put a picture, slap a line on it, people eat that up. Yeah, no, they're here for it.
Okay. What about other platforms? Now I know that there has been some conversation about things like Pinterest, that sort of thing. I mean, Pinterest is absolutely wonderful because you can create mood boards, you can create collages that go with your story. So what about taking those or using those? Can you, is there a crossover, or is there some way that you can kind of, intersperse all of those things? Because Pinterest, of course, is very visual, and so is Instagram.
I think you can. I am always careful on like doing crossover from Pinterest. And I know this is the advertiser in me, and this is the person who had to take comm law and understand copyrights and understand all of that. So doing any sort of crossover where I'm taking what I'm posting on Instagram, or taking what I'm posting on, or like pulling from pins on Pinterest and then sharing it into my other feeds, unless I'm like just sharing a link, like, hey, go check this out, sort of thing. Like, I am so hesitant to share images, to share anything like that from other places. Melissa always makes fun of me. Like, I am so anal retentive about making sure that all of my photos are stock photos, that they have like come from like a place where I'm allowed to use them. I can use the licensing. I can, you know what I mean? I have all of that information. So I know there are a lot of people that do just pull from Pinterest and like pull from their mood boards and post it and do that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I cannot bring myself to do it, but that's because I've read what happens when you get caught and do like what people can do. Like I had to take a whole class on it in college, and I was like, I can't do it. I cannot bring myself to do it. But that's a personal preference. Do people really get caught doing that? I don't think they really do, but they could. They could.
Yeah, and I totally get that. I would think, but it'd be err on the side of caution, share the link, and that's good.
Share the link. If you want to see, I definitely do like a link tree and put it up, and I'm like, hey, you want to follow me on all these things? Go look there. You can see. What's funny is that I feel like if people actually went and looked at my Pinterest, they would totally know what I'm working on, because I just leave it public. I really shouldn't, but I do. Because I feel like it's like a reward. If you go looking for me on Pinterest, and you get this reward, you get to see, that I'm working on a Loki story, and that I'm working on dragons, and that I'm working on all this other stuff that's not anywhere close to being published, but because I've got a board for it.
Which makes sense. Awesome. The last question, and I just thought of this one because I've just seen a little newsletter, a little note that I left for myself here. Reader magnets, how important are they?
Do them, get them, do them. They're so important. They're so important to stick at the back of your books. I'm telling you, do them. Even if it's just to gain for your newsletter. You know what I mean? So important. So important. They are great to build your newsletter. Look at this free thing. People love free stuff. Who doesn't love free stuff? You know what I mean? So as soon as you put like, oh, you have to sign up for my newsletter, but look, you get this little free dangling carrot thing over here. Like, oh yeah, that's where it's at. Especially if it's something that people want. Like, you pick the thing, you can look at your reviews and see what people want and be like, oh, this is what you wanted, more of this. Let me give it to you. Here it is. Take it. Like,
okay.
Find something that they want. Like right now, I have what started as what was supposed to be a reader magnet. I have a couple. They're a side couple in my story. Everybody loves Malcolm. They love this guy. Like, they just love him. And he has his mate, and they get together in the second book. But it's very much like they're a side couple. Like, you know what I mean? That it's not their story. So everybody wants their story. Everybody wants, well, what happened? So what started off as what was supposed to be a reader magnet is probably going to be a novella, because I'm a wordy bitch and I can't help myself. So
totally get that.
Yeah, that's how that's going to go down. And it turned into this whole story. And I'm like, oh, look, they have this beautiful love story now, which they always had. It just wasn't something that like I had written. So it's one of those things that I was originally going to use it as a reader magnet. And who knows, maybe I just might say like, what the hell, and give it away as like a reader magnet and be like, you got to sign up for my newsletter though. So, because it's something everybody really wants. So you find the thing that they really want and you dangle that carrot.
do they have to be long? Like I've heard conflicting information, you know, it could be a scene, it could be a chapter, it could be a full length, you know, what would be the optimal?
I feel like all of the above, whatever you think that, like, it's like when somebody asks you how long your book needs to be, it needs to be as long as it takes you to tell the story effectively. So same thing, if you have a scene that works, that's going to be like the thing that they want. Like, it's the scene that they want. Yeah, give it to them. If it's like a chapter, give it to them. If it's a couple chapters, give it to them. Why not? As long as it's not hindering you from continuing to like tell stories. You know, I mean, obviously I wouldn't give away a full length book, like an 80,000 word book as a thing, unless it was going to be a perma-free anyways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay. So perma-frees are a whole different kettle of fish. Do you think that that there's value in offering a perma-free? Like, I mean, if you've got if say you've got a series, Carolyn, I'm throwing you under the bus here. She's got a serial that she's working on right now. Love it to pieces. I've been reading it. I've been helping her with critiques and stuff. Absolutely fantastic. Now this particular one, I mean, so far I think we've got 24 episodes in, but say you've got a series of books that are, you know, 10, 15 books, whatever it is. From a marketing standpoint, would it be, you know, would offering book number 1 as a perma-free be a good move or a bad move?
I think that if you have the backlist to support it, like if it is in a series like that and you have the backlist to support it to where you're getting the read through and the read through is going to make up for it anyways, yeah, do it. Okay. I don't see the problem in doing a perma-free.
Okay. Awesome. Brilliant. I'm sure that we will have more questions in the future. I hope you will come back and answer more.
Anytime. I mean, well, yeah, because you're taking 2 weeks off anyway. So yeah, you just let me know. I'll come whenever you want, boo.
Awesome.
You let me know.
Awesome. I find I learn so much from these discussions. I learn just as much as I'm, you know. So yes, thank you so very much, Krista. I appreciate that. Does anyone other than me have more questions? Carolyn, I know you had a couple of questions that we had talked about the other day. I did not write them down, unfortunately. Did you get everything answered tonight?
Yes, I've been frustrated with marketing because I've taken the 5-day challenge and everything, and a lot of my friends are like, Amazon ads are the only way to go, and like I think it was Mal Cooper, the 20 books to 50K thing was like, no, you know, or I don't know if it was her or someone else, but said, you do you pick what works for you.
You pick what works for you. Yes.
Callie Chase, the author of The Serial Bug, she's amazing. She said, you don't have to do newsletters. You don't have to do this or this or this. You can try everything. Don't stick with everything. If it's not working for you, don't stress about it. Move on. You'll find something that works. You'll find it. When you do, put 110% into it, and just, so what you said has basically reiterated to me, find what works for you, because it's not a one size fit all. And I really, really appreciate it. And because I keep beating myself up. I'm studying design. I've spent hundreds of dollars in courses, and I'm really picking up on things. I'm saving up for a $900 course that should launch me totally above and beyond everything. It's amazing. There are certain aspects like marketing. I am clueless, and I feel like such a tiny little tadpole in an ocean.
Yes, I absolutely understand that 110%. And even dude, I feel that way too. 110%. And always, if you have questions, just reach out. Definitely. Anytime.
I love that you said that you suck at Facebook groups. I do too. And I've been thinking about the past month hiring a PA, like how much do they cost? How do I find them? And you're like, oh, well, ask other authors. And I'm like, that's a duh. Yeah. Why didn't I do that?
Yes, absolutely. I I feel like people underestimate like the value of like just asking other people, like asking
Yes.
other authors, asking in reader groups, like asking in, you know what I mean? Like, absolutely. Just put up a post. I just saw someone today, like an author that I follow, put up a post saying like, I'm looking for a PA for these specific things. Like, these are the things that I need. If you or someone you know does this, like, please reach out and let me know, you know? And like, I understand competitive pricing, so let me know and send me a portfolio of what you've done. And that's simple. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And you can post the same thing in like in author groups or in that sort of thing. I think that, yeah, no, it's great. Like I said, if you can't do it, find someone who can help you with it, because there is someone out there who can.
Exactly. And if you want to do it yourself, invest in yourself the time and the money to hire someone to teach you
To teach you.
to do it.
Yes,
And to do
absolutely.
it properly and do it well. And then, you know, but don't do like me, Carolyn, and don't wear too many hats. Okay? Just don't.
Well, that's
Don't wear
the
too many hats.
thing, is how do I know when to pull back and go to someone? Like, I got for my birthday the Master Guide to Drawing Anime. I also got, because I love this style and I want to emulate it, pop manga drawing. And there's another artist who draws similar that I absolutely love. But I'm struggling because I want to write. I have these vivid dreams, the stories start unfolding, and I want to write. And then I've been learning tons about the craft. I've taken the deep point of view masterclass like 3 times. I still go over the notes. I started reading the self-editing for fiction writers, which validates so much of what I've learned. And it's taught me about narrative summary, how it leads to exposition, present day expectations, what readers like, don't like. Like, I used to try to write like the classics. I suck at that. It's not my style. Turns out modern day people don't want to read the classics. They don't like that style. They want writing tight, writing with immediacy. A lot of romance authors last year recently learned filter words, something that I learned 2 years ago and started applying. Don't use filter words, and if you do, apply it here or here in this way. So I'm to the point, because I take things full throttle, and then I have to get comfortable with it so I can start backing off and know where to do it. In serials, you want some telling. You want to use narrative summary as a transition of time and place, and then like 2 or 3 lines to skip to the next part so we can go into the next scene and keep those readers engaged. Last year, this last year, I think it was, I learned how to write a hook in your first sentence, your very first sentence. And then a couple of months ago, I started learning about the 9 different types of cliffhangers for not just serials, but for books. And I'm behind the game because I didn't have someone to say, oh, well, here, read this and do this. It's more like I'm floundering and I see something, ooh, I want to learn that. So I go in that direction. Ooh, I want to learn that too. I go, oh, look at this. And so like now it's like, yes, I want to learn to draw my own covers for the manga style, but right now I need an image. I don't mind if I have to paint it. I've been doing the classes, David's classes, his free classes, and practicing on Paintable in his group. I've taken some classes, the free classes on his website. I can do that. I'm confident enough. I can paint. I mean, it might not be the best job, but it's good enough. You know, it's great. So I'm like, do I spend a month and really practice hard every day and nail this down until I have muscle memory and I can create my own and study the different poses? Or do I go ahead and use some of my bonus money from Bella and hire someone else? Because I need to get the 500 pack of ISBNs from Boker. That's expensive. I think I'll be able to cover that with my bonuses. I also want to hire Michael Lee to make promo videos, and it's only $75 each, and they are gorgeous. The thing is, I just recently discovered what exactly type of stories I'm writing. They're perfect for serials. I knew that. I didn't realize they're so much like light novels, but they're all American style because it's using our culture, our morals. Like I'm against rape culture. I'm against abusive leading males. There are some abusive characters, and my leading ladies are, I don't think so. You know, they stand up for themselves, and you know, they help somebody else out of that situation. But those are my values. So I'm creating something new. And somebody else is like, well, just use the covers you made. I'm like, but I don't think they'll grab the certain type of people I want. And that's why I really think that right now I need to get a manga cover for the 2 new serials I'm launching this month.
But I think the biggest problem, Carolyn, and I say this with the utmost love because I know exactly where you're coming from. It's that shiny object or squirrel mentality of, ooh, something new. I need to know that. I think that's the biggest thing. As you had said to me, and I'm going to throw your words back at you, paraphrase, is sometimes you have to put blinders on to the shiny things. You have an amazing grasp of skills on a lot of things, Carol. You know marketing. But the thing is, you need to build the confidence. And I can say that because I do myself. I will sit and I will promote other people till the cows come home. And even after they've come home, eaten the grain and left again, I'll still do it. But that's so it's about gaining the confidence and learning how to be selfish in doing that. And yes, you do need a PA, because I think a PA for you, Carolyn, and I know I'm reaching out to the lady I work with. She does some of my promos and stuff. I'm reaching out to her to discuss what we're going to change about our working relationship. But I think, you know, having a clear understanding of what you want. Yeah. Well, yeah, there you go. But you have that relationship, you have that ability, Carolyn, and some of us don't. Yeah.
Patricia is right. You got to put them blinders on and say, you know, be a little selfish and do the things. Unfortunately, there's not enough hours in the day to do all the things. And so it does really become one of those things that you do have to prioritize. And it was the same thing. Like, I totally get it. Aside from the whole non-confrontational thing, it was definitely one of those things that I'm like, I just don't have the hours in a day, especially because when it came down to it, I was trying to finish the second book. Like, I was supposed to go to Shameless this past year in Florida. I ended up not going just because of a bunch of the COVID stuff, like there, and just things here at home. So it was one of those things that I ended up not going. But when I was planning on going, I was like, well, I have to get this book out, you know what I mean? And so I didn't have the time to be sitting fielding cold calls for ARC readers and sending out things, and like that would take up so much of my day, you know, fielding all of those things. And so having Brittany to help was worth its weight its gold. I would pay her every time, you know. And so I do think, yeah, it's one of those things that it's like, focus. I would make like a priority list. Like, what are the things that you need to, you said your goal was to make enough money to hire your hubby to do it for you, to be your PA and your manager. So to do that, like, I would look and say, okay, what are the priorities to get there? How am I going to get there? You know what I mean? Like, I always told my husband, like, my first goal is to be able to monthly pay the mortgage on my own. You know what I mean? Without any help. I want to consistently be able to pay our mortgage on my own. Step one. You know what I mean? That's the first goal. After that, then there'll be a new goal, you know, but how do I get there? You know, looking at what I'm making now, what I'm doing now, what do I need to do in the next year to get there? You know what I mean? And like, I'm almost there. I'm there when I'm releasing, you know, but how do I keep it steady? What do I need to do for the next, you know, year in order to make that a steady income every month instead of oh, I'm watching page reads because they're going down and now I'm like, stressing that I'm not going to make that goal. So what do I have to do to get there? Do I need to, whether it be I'm running ads, or do I need to try and do a promo? Do I need to try and do, like kind of figuring it out? But ultimately the thing is you have to write the books, or you have to make the covers, or you have to do the things, you know what I mean? You can take all the classes in the world, but if you're not creating the product, if you're not practicing it, and I think a lot of it also comes down to just practicing it. You still have to put it out there. You still have to get it done. And I think it's the hardest lesson for me to learn too, because I'm the same way. I'm like you. I like to learn. I like to learn these new things and read all the things and do all the things. But at the end of the day, I have all this knowledge. If I'm not putting it into something that people can consume, then what good is that doing me besides just, being in my brain and knowing a lot of things?
And scratching that itch. And I think that's a big part of it too. I'd say probably 2 weeks ago, I was just ready to throw a towel. Like I was so overwhelmed that I was to the point where it was like, no, I'm done. I'm not writing anymore. I'm done. I'm done. Carolyn was very, very, very patient with me. She listened to me. But I think it boils down to that whole point is you keep adding more onto your plate. At some point, your plate is full. The table is going to give out underneath you. And then what do you then you're not going to get what's on the plate, because now the plate is there's broken glass and wood, and it's a bad analogy, I know, but at the end of the day, we need to be able, as creatives, as authors, we need to be putting the words out for the public. You are doing amazing, Carolyn, and I'm not hard nosed when it comes to you. I know I am. I'm like, no, you need to. But the thing is, and I think that's why we get along so well, is because, like Krista said, we want to absorb. We're sponges. We want to know everything. That's that itch, that thing in our brain that says, hey, we need to know more and more and more. But if we're not putting out as much as we're taking in, then how can we work towards our goals? Like, I mean, I know what your goal is. You want to be able to quit. You have how to quit, work for you, be your PA and manager. You know what? I'd like to be able, honestly, I would love to be able to have maybe making enough every single month to pay my car payments, pay for prescriptions that aren't covered because it's new medications, be able to go get my hair done every month, go get my nails done every 3 months, all of those things, be able to travel. To do that, I know what I need to do, is get the words out there, get my readers to see my books. The problem is that's what I write, and Carolyn is experiencing it the same in a little bit of a different way, is our readers are a little bit trickier to find, because what we write it's not mainstream. I did the 5-day challenge, and there was a webinar that went with it, and I had spoken to someone that was on Brian's team, and we were talking about it, and I explained what I had been writing with the Chains of Rome, and it's dark, ancient world, historical, it's not light and fluffy by any stretch of the imaginations. I mean, the heroine gets flayed, literally flayed, peels this thing, and they said, the possibility is you may be creating your own category. And when you're creating your own category and you're creating a genre or a subgenre, it's even more difficult, because you have to actively find the readers. So I don't think, Carolyn, that your problem is in any way, shape, or form talent or skills. I think honestly, the problem is, Carolyn, is that because you're not mainstream, you are going to need to you need to put the bright flashing strobe lights on your work. That's what's going to draw the people in. It has nothing to do with talent, nothing to do with skill. You got those nailed down. It's got to do with just making sure that the readers are aware that they're there.
I agree. And I think that's where it comes into, like, for me, doing that this last time around, what really ended up working for me was finding the readers. And then, which was, I mean, yes, readers of PNR and fantasy are a dime a dozen, but also finding the readers that enjoyed my stuff. But not only that, finding and befriending these readers so that it's amazing to me now that I have, you know, cultivated these relationships with bookstagrammers and with a few like very voracious readers like on Facebook, that now every time somebody's looking for a vampire romance, I don't even have to question. They're going to put down my book every time. Every single time it's being recommended. And so it's one of those things, finding those readers. And that's what you got to do. You got to find those readers that love your stuff, and don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask and say like, hey, like, would you like post about it? Or like, hey, like, would you, you know, help me out with this, that, or the other? And like I said, readers love to feel a part of the process. They love to understand it and to kind of see like, oh, this is how you get to point A to point B. Like, of course, I loved your stuff. Of course I will do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it doesn't hurt to ask.
No, the worst is someone can say the worst that can happen is they say no.
Exactly.
And you know what? If they're saying no, that's not the kind of reader that you want. To be honest, I mean, it's not. You know, like I said, I've got people on my ARC team. Well, I'm busy this month. It has to wait till December, or they just, you know, those are people that are getting cut because they're obviously not committed. So, you know what, Carolyn, give yourself a big hug because you are awesome. You're rocking it. It's just going to be, you know, we just have to put a little bit more into it. It's just putting, you know, plugging in the strobe lights, turning the boom box on, and just, you know, making it so that it's, you know, the world can see it is what it is. And sometimes, you know what, it doesn't matter if we are gender benders or not gender, genre. Sorry, I'm sorry, genre benders, genre benders. Then, you know, and if we read in all sorts of genres, you know, I know Carolyn has said, and I'm guilty of this too, you know, we both read in multiple genres, so it's really hard for us to leave a review because when they look at our stuff, you know, we screw up people's algorithms. But you know what? If we're leaving a review, it shouldn't matter if we're screwing up that algorithm, because ultimately it's an honest, verified review of a book that we have purchased and we have read. And that should be what is the important thing. I think that's part of it too, is we need to stop putting ourselves into boxes and saying, well, this is the genre that I write. This is the genre I read. This is who I should be looking for as fans. Yes, does it mean that it's a little bit more work trying to get people to engage that aren't necessarily our genre readers? Yeah, but the payoff, I think, is going to be ultimately so much more than what it is if we don't at least make that effort, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. On that note, ladies, I have to go. I have to help put kids to bed and do that sort of thing.
Thank you so very much, Krista.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely wonderful. Thank you for being there and allowing us to pick your brain.
Of course,
It's fantastic.
anytime, seriously, anytime, reach out to me. People who watch this later, you can reach out and say hello and ask your questions. I'm definitely an open book. So whatever you guys need.
Sounds good. Awesome. We will talk to you for sure in the new year. Thank you. Thank you. Have good luck with your move.
Awesome. Thank
Hopefully
you.
It's not too stressful.
I'm crossing my fingers. Thank you so much, guys.
You're very welcome. Have a good night, everyone.